email. Okay, Oliver, please follow. Just send it to me via my email account. On my email. Okay, another concern. Any other clarifications, concern with our e-learn virtual classroom?
Sir, excuse me,
Oh,
sir. Dili na makasubmit sa katong on God reveals God self, sir.
God reveals God's self. Okay, na-close naman to siya. Same with what I instructed na to Oliver. Just submit it somewhere no, to my email.
Okay, sir.
So for any missed activities no, that are closed already, missed assignments, what you do is you just send it to me via my email. Okay? So ayaw sa um, messenger, but in my email, via my email account. Okay? So anything more? Any other questions or clarifications? None so far. Let's proceed now to module one. This is A1, no? EGC po. Tawag ko sa... Just forward. Please tell me if you have it already in your screen. Huh? So I am presenting to you our virtual classroom or e-learn. But please tell me if I'm already able to present to you. Am I already able to present to you, class? Not yet.
Not yet, sir.
Okay. A while. Okay, how is it now? Do you have it on your screen? Do
Yes,
you have
sir.
it in your screen? Okay. Okay, good. So this afternoon, no, we proceed now to module one. No? So for module one, it's given the title Revelation, Revelation, or God's Revelation. Anyone who wants to recall what we mean with revelation or God's revelation before proceeding? I just want to situate that before we begin now with our module one, the word is very clear to you. So when we say God's revelation, what does it mean? And I think I have shared you something about this the last time. So anyone would want to gain points from our graded oral recitation? So what do we mean again with revelation or God's revelation? Elizel, yes, go on.
So, revelation is how God showed and manifested himself to man.
Okay, so very good. No? So when we speak of revelation, it is referred to as God's act of manifesting or revealing himself to us so that we come to know him. No? So it's God's way of communicating himself to us, no? Disclosing himself to us so that we come to know him. Okay, so for this module, it's given 5 weeks. No, it's allotted. It's been allotted the 5 weeks from week 2 to 6. No, from August 8 to September 10. Okay, so we have two learning objectives here. First, objective. I hope that at the end of this module, you will be able to identify certain situations that trigger awareness of the presence of God. So I hope and I pray that as we progress in our study, especially at the end of this module, you will be more keen, sensitive, and docile to the promptings of the Holy Spirit, to God's leading into your lives. For you to be able to see what God wants you to do in your life. No? Um, Aside from what our book, CFC, tells us of the many ways wherein God is revealing Himself to us, one way also of God revealing Himself to us is through reflecting over our life's significant experiences. Especially those times wherein you were bothered. You were bothered and you were into the down moments of your lives, moments where you almost want to quit, no? Because you're suffering, you're in a difficult situation. No? And what you do is you even wanted not to recall or remember the experience. No? Instead, you want to deny them because of the accompanying painful feelings that is associated with those experiences. No? So in those times, no, unfortunately, we failed. We failed to learn from those experiences. We failed to encounter God. We failed to learn what are God's words in our lives in those experiences. Because our tendency as human beings that we have the tendency to deny them. No? So God encounters us, God meets us where we are. It's in our day-to-day life experiences. So that I hope that this study of Module 1 will help you how to become more docile and discerning over God's revelation into your life, especially in your life significant experiences. Second is for you to demonstrate the relationship between the so-called the two major sources of God's revelation, namely Scripture or the Holy Bible, and the other one tradition or the sacred tradition. Uh, so I hope that you will be able to see the connection, the relationship between the two, because unfortunately, um, one of the problems now that we have now for us now Catholics, that leads us even to the many Christians becoming nominal Catholics or Christians is that many of us are sacramentalized, but only too few of us are evangelized. No? I repeat, many of us are sacramentalized, but only too few of us are evangelized. Okay, yes, we have been receiving sacraments in our lives. We have been baptized. We have been confirmed even. No? And we've been receiving the Holy Communion. We are going into the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist and also sacrament of penance or reconciliation. But unfortunately, no matter how many times we've been doing this, we've been receiving all the sacraments. The sad truth is that only too few of us grasp and see the real spirit of the sacrament. That's why we ended up being sacramentalized, but not evangelized. This is our problem. We're not being evangelized. Meaning to say, we don't even understand the biblical implication, the biblical meaning over the things that we have been doing in the church, in the so-called tradition of the church. No? So I'd like to clarify this to you, class. Now, when we say scripture, that's very clear. Now we're referring here to the Holy Bible. Well, on the other hand, when we say tradition, it points to the sacred tradition of the church, which is very vague, it's very wide in the church, and it covers a lot of things. What covers tradition? First is it could refer to all those church official pronouncements or teachings or doctrines or dogmas. Now, like, for example, the teaching of we have one God in three distinct persons. No? So this is an example of a doctrine or dogma, which is part of the tradition, a sacred tradition or sacred teachings of the church. No? Our doctrine of the Immaculate Conception, that Mother Mary was immaculately conceived, no, in the womb of her mother Anne, no, free from any blemish of sin. No? So this is also another example of a doctrine, which is part of the tradition of the church. And then, aside from doctrines, official pronouncements or doctrines or dogmas of the church, it will also cover all the popular devotions, all the popular devotions of the church. The saying of the Holy Rosary, our processions, no? The practice of doing processions, um, First Friday Novena, Manana. So these are part, now these popular devotions now are part of sacred tradition of the church. No? And also the sacraments, all the sacraments that we have. Sacraments are part also of the sacred tradition. No? So I hope that as we end the module, you will be able to see the biblical meaning, the biblical implication of all the sacred tradition that we have in the church. No? For example, class, no, one of our popular devotion, no, is this is popular during Holy Week, Lenten season. The practice of doing panaa, di ba? Matukamigin, or asa ba na siya? Guadalupe, no, shrine, para paghimo panaad. No? This is a popular devotion, no, that we've been doing, no, in the Catholic Church. Pero ingon palagi nila, ang uban dili man kuno panaad, kundi dili paniid. No? So going there, but are not so intent, no, of asking for forgiveness of sins, and not even being capable of seeing what's really the meaning or the spirit of the panaad. Okay, dili lagi panaad kay mo dili paniid. No? So that's an example, class, no, of how we Catholics become sacramentalized but not evangelized. Because we don't relate, we're not able to relate these popular devotions to the words of Jesus, to the teachings, the commandments of Jesus. So di na to ma-relate sila, di na to connect. No? Okay. So I'd like also, class, now to point this out to you that when we say faith, now talking about faith is that faith is referred to or described as our personal response to God's presence or God's revelation. I mean, so I repeat, when we say faith, now faith is our personal response to God's revelation or to whatever God's revelation there is in our life. No? So that we arrive, we possess, and we hold on with our faith based on how God is manifesting or revealing Himself to us. I'm saying this to you because later, we'll be talking about the many ways wherein God is revealing Himself to us. And the more we have, the more we understand and we hold, we possess these many ways of God revealing Himself, the more supposedly we are strengthened in our faith. Uh, okay. So we haven't discussed yet now the story of the blind man and the elephant last time. No? We haven't yet discussed, diba? Okay. So let's now begin our discussion now of Module 1 by first now listening to some sharers over what are your takeaways or your insights or reflections over the story of the blind man and the elephant. No? So those of you who would want to share, those of you who would want to gain points from your recitation. Okay, so you can click the raise hand button for you to share. So anyone would want to share? You just can read if you want. You just can read your um, insights or reflection over the story of the blind man and the elephant. Okay, in the first place, class. Now, do you like the story? Did you like the story, class? Those of you who says yes, now you like the story, and you are learning many things now out of the story. Those of you who are saying yes that you're learning. Please click raise hand. May I know? As if you like the story, please click the raise hand button. Okay, good. Good that you're saying that you like the story and you're learning, no, from the story. Okay, so therefore, if you're learning from the story, what now are your takeaways? What are your insights and learnings from the story? Okay, Jamaica, would you want to share, Jamaica?
Yes, sir. So,
Okay, yes.
insight. So the story taught me that different experiences result in different representation. Truths vary depending on what part you touch, just as the six blind touch various parts of the elephants, or how biblical authors view and experience God's revelation. Thus, even if you have the truth in your hands, it does not always imply that it is the only truth. Furthermore, we should not dismiss others simply because they do not share the same experiences or truths. Instead, we should listen to each other because it may support our idea and unpack the entire truth.
Okay, very well said. No? Very good, Jamaica. Me. I will add to it. No, I will comment to what you're saying later. After the other sharers, no, will be able to share their insights. No, but very good, no, Jamaica. Can we give a round of applause to Jamaica? Okay, so very good. No, another sharer. Before I'll forget the points. No, Jamaica. Okay, another sharer. Aubrey. Let's listen to Aubrey.
Ako lang po basahon, sir. The lessons I have gained from the story are openness and respect towards other beliefs. The elephant was touched by the six blind men in six different parts, just like how God's revelation was witnessed by us in different ways. The six blind men argued with each other over their truth, oblivious to the fact that they all touched different parts. This manifests how the existence of several truths can be possible. Thus, people should be open and not deprecate others for possessing different truths or beliefs. In relation to this moral, the revelation of God happens in different ways, and people believe and experience His presence in different ways. Therefore, we should acknowledge, respect, be open, and not label other beliefs that are not similar to ours as wrong and immoral. Furthermore, we must always look at the bigger picture because, after all, several truths can exist as part of the whole one.
Okay, very good, Aubrey. Now, so we have your points there, no, Aubrey. Let's give a round of applause to Aubrey. Okay, so very good, no, Aubrey. So let's listen to our last sharer. Last sharer, Georgie. Georgie, would you want to share, Georgie?
Uh, After I watched the story of the blind man and the elephant, there is a lesson that I've learned which can help me to become more open minded. In the story, I noticed that the six blind men have different perspectives from what they've experienced. Just like how Christian people have different interpretations from what they read in the Bible, because not all people have the same experience and thinking. That's why we shouldn't disregard other people's interpretations just because we have our own interpretation of the Bible. We should be more open and consider other people's perspectives because it can also help us understand their points of view from other angles.
Okay, very good, Georgie. So, Georgie, your points there, no? Let's give a round of applause to Georgie. Okay, so we thank our sharers for sharing their takeaways and insights over the story of the blind man and the elephant. So all of what no, Georgie, Aubrey, and was the other one name? Jamaica, no? All of what they're telling to us are all true over the lessons, no, the learnings, insights that we can get out of the story of the blind man and the elephant. Actually, the story is a very beautiful story that teaches us a lot of things, no? And the story basically is a representation no, of this huge reality of God represented by the elephant in the story and the, the reality of the uh, different religious beliefs or point of views and thoughts and opinions coming from other people. No? which is also represented by the sixth blind man. No? So that in as much as each of this blind man happens to touch, no, a single part of what the elephant is, so they are able to come up now with their own distinct and unique interpretation and perception of what the elephant is. No? Just like one blind man, no, who happened to touch the belly part of the elephant. So according to this blind man, in as much as he was able to touch the belly part of the elephant, he was thinking that an elephant is a huge wall. No? E pagikabit niya, dako, magkaina, no, ang belly part sa elephant. So he was thinking that the elephant is a huge wall. While for the blind man, another blind man who was able to touch the tail part now of the elephant was thinking to himself that an elephant is a huge rope. No, dako nga PC, he was able to touch, no, the tail part of the elephant. So that the story teaches us these things. No? From what you're saying, no? Si Aubrey, Jamaica, and Georgie, I think these are what you're sharing. And I think all of you will also, or are able also to relate and share these insights and thoughts of our three sharers. No? So the story reminds us that first, God is revealing himself to us in many different ways. No? Just like the elephant, how this bigger, huge animal of an elephant could be presenting itself to the six blind men. No? Much more with God. No? God is a very huge reality, very wide, mysterious reality even. So that as a mysterious reality, God is understood as a reality which we can never fully grasp. No? We can never fully grasp because of its inexhaustible richness of God. So that our human, even human beings, uh, even human beings have this so-called limitation, our human limitation to understand, the whole truth of who God is. So this story of the blind man elephant teaches us about humility, that we have to be capable of humbling ourselves, that we don't claim the monopoly of all the truth. No? Because as human as we are unique in our own ways. We are all unique in our own ways, and we are even unique in our way of interpreting and understanding and discovering who God is. Just like the six blind men. No? So it humbles us, no? The story humbles us, and we need to admit that we are limited in our human reasoning, in our human intelligence, no? And because of that, now we need to be open-minded. And I think the three sharers, told us of this, that what we learned from the story is that we need to be humbling ourselves to the extent that we need to be open-minded. We need to be open-minded. We need to pay respect. And as being open-minded, we are encouraged and we are invited to learn from each other, so that the more we listen, the more we open ourselves, open our mind, and the more we are able to listen and learn from each other's point of views, the more we see the whole and the bigger picture of who God is. No? Because in as much as our human intelligence is limited, what we can see only are but part and parcels of the whole truth of who God is. So that then again, now we are invited and challenged to learn from each other, now to pay respect, not to be close-minded, but to learn, to take advantage over the other point of view, so that the more we do so, the better we can get closer and a more bigger picture and the whole truth of who God is in our lives. No? So it teaches us that God is revealing to us in many different ways. And we have our unique, distinct ways based on our capacity, based on our uniqueness. We have our own ways of interpreting and perceiving who God is, of which each one of us is deserving to be listened to. Okay? So, just like what I was telling to you from the start, when we had our orientation last time, that for our study, let us not take this study as an opportunity or a moment for us to look at the differences of our faith. to debate as to who's correct and who's wrong, who's to be saved and who's not to be saved. Let's not do that in our study. But instead, we focus over the commonalities of our faith, of which I was reminding you of the word respect. We pay respect, we learn from each other, and we focus with the so-called commonalities of our faith. The point of convergence of our faith that may somehow strengthen our sense of unity and solidarity among us believers of God. Okay, so I hope that you are learning many things from the story of the blind man and the elephant. No? Now let's proceed. Okay, in your study class now of Module 1, I hope that you are able to open, access, and browse over those significant study materials that I'd like you to read and we'll be discussing this afternoon. So let me first guide you class and lead you through these links just to ensure that you will be able to open this. First one class is I hope that you will be opening this. Okay, for a while class, huh? Okay. So I hope that you will be able to read this. No? I hope that you won't rely only and depend only on the short video clips that I posted in the e-learn, or you only rely on the PowerPoint presentation. I hope that you really read those chapters that I want you to read from our one of our major references, which is our book CFC, or Catechism for Filipino Catholics. So first one is below this one, below the activity on the lineman and the elephant. You have first this one, CFC. So you click this one. Okay, you click this, and it will lead you to the link of the book. So by clicking this link, you click this link, and this will lead you to the book of CFC. Uh, so as I've said, you are no longer pay to secure the book because the book is already there, posted in our e-learn. Okay, so please to follow. Hinay akong signal, guys. Okay lang. Okay, so this is now the book, Catechism for Filipino Catholics, or C. Okay, and then for our study now over Revelation, it's in chapter 2 of our book. So you click this one, okay, and then it will open to you the chapter 2 of the book CFC, entitled God's Call, Revelation. But in our study, in our discussion this afternoon, I'll be using the summarized form in presenting to you. So where will you find it, the summarized form? I want you to follow class. Please do follow. So this is where you will be finding the summarized form of chapter 2. We go back to the main course page. And then you go here. Okay, so okay, the summarized form is to be found here. So you click this link, the source. This is a page, source. You click this, then it will lead you to these two links. The first link here, class, is a sort of audio presentation over God's ways, no discussion on God's ways of revealing Himself to us. And the second one is a summarized form. Okay, so tell me if you have it. You have it already on your screen. So this is the summarized form of chapter two. So excerpt now from CFC chapter two. Okay, so do you have it on your screen, class? You can have feedback.
Yes, sir.
I hope that you will be able now to open this one. And I suppose also that you have opened this one and come to read already of this. No? Okay. So a while ago, now, I was telling you of faith. No? That faith is described or defined as our personal response to God's revelation. No? And I suppose that by now, I suppose that all of you are believers of God. And you come to become a believer of God because of how God is revealing Himself to you. No? So that before we proceed, I'd like to ask you a question, and then I would ask again for volunteers to how is God revealing Himself to you so that you come to be a believer of Him? No? So, in short, I want you to answer over the question as to why do you believe that God exists? No? So, when you believe that God exists, it's the other way of saying that you have faith in God. No? You do believe that God is existing. No? So, again, I want you to answer the question as to why do you believe that God exists? Or how did God reveal Himself to you so that you come to be a believer of Him? No? Um, I'm raising this question to you, class, because I want you to be reminded, with the challenge and the encouragement of the church. The church is encouraging us in terms of our faith that we need to possess a faith that seeks understanding, a faith that seeks for reason why we need to believe, a faith that is holding on to a more objective reason. Ano bang, the reason is very clear and distinct in our mind that not only you yourself can agree with, but the other people also can agree with this reasoning. No? So, unfortunately, there are many people who have been asked now with this question as to why do you believe that God exists? And unfortunately, many of them will just end up by saying, ingon, mumay uso, mumay ingon soban, nanay ginos, oo na lang pud ko. No? Nana, di ba? Or, this is what my parent told me, even when I was still very young. So, that's why I believe that God exists. So, this is a kind of faith that is considered as a leap of faith. A leap of faith. In other words, we just seem to jump up to a conclusion that God is present, God is existing, without even finding for a solid reason, solid ground to believe that why God is existing. Huh? Nana. So, for you, at your age now, anyone who can share to me as to how did God reveal Himself to you so that you become a solid believer of God, of His existence, of His presence? No? And what a solid reason can you give us why you believe that God exists? Okay? Those of you who would want to gain points again, okay. Plus, excuse for a while because I'll just very for a while. Okay, I'm back, class. Yes. No. I suppose that there are some of you now who's wanting or willing to share your answer. Anyone? Who was the last one who answered, by the way? Who was the last one who recited? Was it,
Ako, sir.
uh, who was it one?
Ako, sir.
Georgie Marie?
Yes, sir.
Georgie Marie, no? So, Georgie, no, I want you to be the one who will call no, any of your classmates. I'm fond of doing this. Now, if I would want you to give an answer, and if no one would be volunteering themselves to answer, so this is what I'm usually doing. Now, I will call the last one who answered to be the one who will choose to answer. Georgie, please call one of your classmates.
Si Philip, sir.
Philip. Philip, you're being called now by Georgie to answer. What would be your reason, Philip, for you to believe that God exists and how God is revealing Himself to you?
Actually, sir, when I was a kid, I never I never ought to be believing in God because somehow I have subjective views and objective views as a person, and kanang in a philosophical way I sometimes question his beliefs and his teachings. But um kuan in times where kanang lisod gid kay ang kinabuhi, kuan my faith kanang actually pushed me to believe in him because he he guides me even though I cannot see him, but I know that he guides me. He gives me blessings and he leads me through a path nga where I can find myself, where I can define myself, and where I can lead my future to be good in his kanang hands.
Okay, very good. Now, thank you for that sharing, now, Philip. Let's give a round of applause to Philip. Okay, very good. You have your points there, now, Philip. You come to believe in God's existence because of the experience of the presence of God in your life. No? Those moments wherein you are having a difficult situations in your life and you were able to overcome them. I suppose that you attribute that overcoming of the difficult situation to God's help, God's assistance, no, of strengthening you, giving you that grace, to overcome those difficult situations in your life, and uh, that idea, that you believe that God has been directing, and instructing you or guiding you in your life, no, for you to be able to live a good life, also made you now to be a believer of God. Good, no, Philip. Another share. Yeah, another sharer. Who wants to share? Aside from what Philip shared to us, what else are your reasons? Solid reasons to believe that God exists. Jamaica. Jamaica, go on, Jamaica.
So I believe since I was a child, I was introduced to God. Ang anak kong mama na kuan, He is my Savior, my Creator. So I think that God revealed Himself to me as my Savior and as my Creator and also my Helper and Deliverer and Comforter. That's all.
Okay. So Jamaica, is sharing to us that she's able to learn about God and somehow possess her faith in God because of the influence of her parents, right? No, Jamaica. It was your parents who introduced to you about the
Yes,
concept of
sir.
God, and good that you have parents that are the first, who became the first educator of your faith, no? Who introduced to you the concept of who God is in your life, no? And because of that, you became a believer of God. No? Last one, sharer. No? Okay, last one, sharer. One is volunteering. Jamaica, I'd like you to be the one. We'll call for another sharer. There's one. We'll go to Van Jacqueline. Hey, go on, Van. Hey, Van Jacqueline.
Yes, sir. Audible ko. So, I feel out when God exists is any when God revealed Himself to me is when I experienced difficult times in the past, but I kept my faith in Him, even though it was difficult to have faith in myself. But I keep praying and praying, and it took a while for my prayers to be answered. But God gave me a life now that's much better and gave me peace and so much blessings that I could ask for. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, very good, no, Van. By the way, let's give our shares no, a round of applause, Van, and also the other one. So who was the last one, Gani? Jamaica, no? Okay, so let's give them a round of applause now for sharing, no, their thoughts now about the question, no. Okay, yes, no, and I again, no, I do suppose that you must also be sharing, no, same thoughts, no, and opinion regarding the question, no. Yes, no, Van Jacqueline no, is able to share to us that she come no, to believe no, much more of God's existence because of the blessings that she's been receiving in her life. And part of the blessing now that is she's talking to is life itself, the beauty of life itself. No? So how no we see no the beauty and the wonders of life itself, no, um, including all those beautiful blessings no, that are given to us by God. No? And I think no, we will not be able to appreciate life itself without appreciating creation, right? Uh, Van, do you agree with me, Van, that part of what you're saying about life, now that you see that God is existing because of the beautiful life that you are experiencing? Would you agree with me, Van, that you will not be able to appreciate life without also being appreciative to God's creation? Do you agree, Van? Do you agree, Van? That you will not be able to appreciate life, nor your life itself, without also appreciating God's creation. Is that what you mean, Van? Van Jacqueline, are you listening to me, Van? Nawala naman si Van.
I
Van?
completely agree.
Okay, yes. No? So, therefore, many of us no, also arrive no, at our faith no, in God by way of reflecting over the many beautiful blessings no, that God is giving us in our life. No? Just like the moment we wake up, no, early in the morning, when we are able to wake up, that's already a miracle in our life. That we're still alive, we're still breathing, we still the air that we breathe for us to survive. No? The moment we wake up and we see our family, our loved ones, it's very beautiful, no, that we see no, all around us, our family members. No? And then reflecting on the beauty of creation, no? The food that we eat, no? All the things that God no, has been providing us with for us to survive. And it's all but part of creation. No? So that first way no, of God revealing himself is in creation. No? So, am I still presenting to you, class? Nakapresent pa ba ako sa inyo?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did I present to you the summarized form of chapter 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So God's first way of revealing himself to us is in creation. No? But let me add something to this one, Rasa. I'd like to add something to what and how the philosopher and one of the celebrated no, philosopher and authors no, in the name of Saint Thomas Aquinas, no, as to how he beautifully justified the existence of God by using creation as his first, no, first way or first stage no, of justifying that God exists. I don't know if you're familiar with this philosopher class and saint of the Catholic Church. Are you familiar, class, with Saint Thomas Aquinas, patron saint of Santo Tomas no, University? Okay, so I'm writing to you the name. It's Saint Thomas Aquinas. In his book Summa Theologica. Now, in his book Summa Theologica, Saint Thomas Aquinas comes up with a very beautiful, very good justification of God's existence, and he beautifully argued God's existence by using creation as his starting point over his argument. And he connects this, he connects creation with the law of motion, with this very scientific, famous scientific law, which we call as the law of motion. Do you still remember the law of motion? Who authored, by the way, the law of motion? Who authored the law of motion? Anyone who can recall? I want you to recall.
Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton, sir.
Good, Isabella. No? So it's Sir Isaac Newton, who authored the very famous law of motion. Isabella, can you still recall what does this law tells us? Naman titulo ito na, but can you recall any of those? And the very
Kalimut
basic?
na ko, sir, pero some of those are the law of inertia. Wala ako
The law
natutunan,
of
sir.
inertia. The law of inertia, which tells us, I think it's part of the law of inertia, that tells us that an object at rest remains at rest. Right? An object at rest remains at rest. No? This is a law, and therefore this cannot be disputed anymore, right? Because this is a law. So what naging maka-dispute, ani guys, ha? So an object at rest remains at rest. So that, say for example, if I place this ball pen on the table, and if there's no outside force that is applied to it, no, it will be staying on the table for forever. It will stay there. It will be resting there for forever if we don't apply any outside force to it. It's only during the time that when I pick it up or when I push it now with the use of my hand that it will be moving. No? So kana ang law. No? Now, I'd like you to confirm over these things that I will be telling to you. In your experience, in your surrounding, in your life, in your surrounding, buhay mo mo, or ginawa, you see what is happening all over your surrounding. Do you see movement all around you? Do you see motion all around you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no, I think you can. All of you can agree with me. No? And then, can you agree with me also that there is even not only a single motion, but there are countless motion all around us. Those who will agree, please click raise hand. Click raise hand. Those of you will agree that there is not only single movement or motion all around us, but there are even countless movements all around us. And I think all of you also can agree. Please do lower your raise hand. Lower your raise hand. Okay. Do you also agree? Okay. Excuse for a while, class. No, just for a while. Very important. Like it class. No. Please do excuse me, class. Very important. Like it, no? This is what I was telling to you in our previous orientation that to live a family life, to live a married life is not that easy. No? So nagi mga panginanglan that even in our discussion, pwede ito makastop sir kaya na importante kayo respond sa family. Okay, so yes, could you also agree with me? Can you also agree with me? Okay. Can you also agree with me, class? Can you also agree with me that there's not even countless harmonious movements all around us, but there are countless of harmonious, orderly movements all around us. Can you also agree? Please click raise hand if you agree with me, class. That there's not only countless movements all around us, but there are countless of harmonious, orderly movements all around us. No? Okay, good that you're agreeing with me. Just to cite some example of this, you consider the heavenly bodies, no? The heavenly bodies. That's why our book tells us of this, no? The book of Psalm, chapter 19, verse 1, tells us very clearly of this. It says, no, that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament proclaim his handiwork. So I repeat, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament proclaim his handiwork. So even the heavenly bodies and the harmonious and orderly movements of the heavenly bodies in itself already displays, no? It already declares the power and the glory of God. No? So that if you look at the heavenly bodies, even until now, what pag bangga class? No? What pag bangga, no? Because there is a harmonious and orderly movements of our heavenly bodies. No? We consider the shifting of the night and day. No? That every time it's already 6 o'clock in the morning, we are already happy and we're glad that the sun begins to shine bright when it's already 6 o'clock in the morning. So that if it's already 6 o'clock in the morning, and if it's already dark, still dark, I think we began to panic, because it's no longer the earth and the world, the universe is no longer following its natural flow. So we begin to panic. But even until now, there is still that harmonious, orderly movements of the planetary bodies. The earth, the orderly movement of the earth as it faces the sun, giving us the shifting of the night and day. No? Not only outside of us, but more so when we reflect over what's within us. Now, deep within us, unconsciously, we are unaware of this, that deep within us is that when we consider our physical, biological makeup, okay, there are even more harmonious, orderly movements that are happening deep within us. And I'm talking here to the many systems, many systems that we have in our body. No? Starting from our reproductive system. No? While you are listening to me, while you are listening to me, sitting down in your home, you could be hungry, because that is part of the reproductive system that is happening, working within you. And there is a orderly movement to it that by now, gipagutom na galing mo, no? Gahimo mo na, no? Ga-workout mo na ang reproductive system. Orderly. And not only the reproductive system, but as well as the circulatory system, the nervous system, the reproductive system. No? How we are amazed of the meeting of the sperm cell and the egg cell, turning to be an embryo and eventually to turn into a baby. This is an amazing. This is because of an amazing, orderly, harmonious movement. With the reproductive system that we have. No? So this one, and not only that, now even the ecosystem. If we reflect over ecosystem, now we are amazed over the symbiotic relationship that there is over the organisms. So that the organisms are surviving in a habitat. No? So you have this one. No? Why I'm saying this, all these beautiful harmonious movements all around you. I'm saying this to you because I want you to answer this very big question, class. No? This is now the very big question. Considering the law of motion, considering the law of motion that says that an object at rest remains at rest, and considering all these beautiful harmonious movements that we see all around us, the question now is this: do you agree? And would you say yes that all these harmonious, beautiful movements that we see all around us could be existing and could be happening by an accident only, without somebody or a being that is causing or behind this? What do you think, class? I repeat, would you say yes? Would you agree that all these beautiful, harmonious movements that we see in the universe, in all the creation, could be happening, could be existing by an accident only, without someone who must be behind this? Okay? So, Isabella, uh, would you agree that this must be, okay, this can be happening accidentally? What's your response to it, Isabella?
One, sir, considering other planets planets are don't support life, and only in of all the 8 planets, only ours exists with life. It's really possible na God made our planet to be livable. To, God, di ba, like God created that planet, this planet just for us, and that speaks volumes about God, how He reveals Himself and how He really loves us, sir.
Okay, very good. Huh? And very good observation and reflection and insights of what I'm telling to you. Huh? So therefore, you are not agreeing. You are not agreeing, Isabella, that all these beautiful things could be happening by an accident only. No, you're agreeing to it. Okay, am I correct, na Isabella? That you are not agreeing that this all these things could not be happening by an accident only, but there must be no someone and somebody who must be behind this. So that in the mind, no in the mind of Saint Thomas Aquinas, for a while, before you comment, no, so that in the mind of Saint Thomas Aquinas, no, he went to his conclusion by saying that there must be a being who must be behind this. And he described this being. He described this being by calling into these terms. He called this being as the unmoved mover. I repeat, this is a philosophical term. So he calls this being who must be behind all these things to be the unmoved mover, meaning he is the one who caused the movements, the existence of this all of these beautiful harmonious movements that we can see in the universe. He must be the one who must be orchestrating. I'm using the term orchestrating all these beautiful movements all around us, considering the law of motion that says that an object at rest remains at rest. So that considering the law of motion, it would follow logically that these movements will not be moving without an outside force, a force that is wise enough to be orchestrating these beautiful movements. Excuse me, Adonis, you're turning on your camera. Please turn off your camera, Adonis. Adonis Luis, please turn off your mic. I mean, okay, good, good. So in the mind of Saint Thomas Aquinas is that he considered this being to be the unmoved mover. He's the one causing the existence of these motions, but in himself, no one is causing his own motion because he has been moving in this beautiful harmonious movement. He describes this being as the uncaused cause. Okay? So naman yung term, sir, na kinuskuot sa amin, another philosophical term, the uncaused cause. Uh, so, what does it mean? Okay, in the mind of Saint Thomas Aquinas, this being is the uncaused cause, meaning he is the cause of everything. He is the source of everything. He is the beginning and the origin of everything. But in himself, no one is causing his own existence because he has been existing independently of himself as the Alpha and Omega. And God is into another dimension. He's into eternal dimension, of which we believe by faith that once we are reunited with God in the second coming, in His final judgment, when we will all be united with Him, we will be entering the same dimension of God throughout eternity. No? So, kana. So, He is the cause, He is the source of everything. And one good, perfect analogy here, class, is we consider the gadgets, the innovations that we are even awed. We are even awed. We are amazed as to how human beings are able to create these beautiful, magnificent gadgets that we have these days in our time. We are in time of progress in terms of technology and science. No? So, say for example, the beautiful gadget of a discovery of telecommunications and the creation of gadgets that will serve us to communicate with people far away from us. No, the cell phones, telephones, televisions, um, computers system, we are amazed as to how possible, no, human beings are able to create, no, these creations and these innovations, no. But same with what I am asking to you earlier, class, could all these gadgets, now, could all these gadgets be existing by an accident only, without a source, without an innovator and a creator? What do you think? I repeat. Now, could all these gadgets, could all these innovations could be existing accidentally without a creator, without an innovator? So what do you think? So would you agree that this wouldn't happen? Right? No, you would agree, no, that this wouldn't happen, and this would be impossible. No? So much more, no, if these gadgets couldn't be existing accidentally without an innovator, much more with our universe and this creation, beautiful creation of God. All this beautiful creation of God could never be existing now by an accident only. No, all this creation, which is far beautiful and magnificent over what human beings can create and can innovate. No? So much more with our creation. This could never be existing without a creator. No? So logic will tell us very clearly that if there is a creation, there must be a creator. If there is an innovation, there must be an innovator. Okay? So therefore, okay, we call this first way, no, of God revealing Himself through creation as already a scientific way of proving that God exists. No? And this is what I'm telling to you earlier, that we need to possess a faith that is grounded by reason, grounded in reason. No? And it's good, therefore, to know that just as any scientific claim would be accepted, as true, because of tangible, concrete evidences. Now, same is true with the existence of God. Now, we need to remind ourselves that when we talk about the existence of God, there is what we call as a scientific, there is what we call as a tangible, concrete evidence or evidences of the existence of God. And what is this very particular tangible proof and evidences of God's existence? It's none other than creation itself. Creation itself. No? So this is what I'm telling to you guys about a reason which is more objective, which is not only yourself, who can agree with, but other people also can agree with, because it's very clear and distinct in our mind. Now it's very logical. No, the argument is very logical. No, okay. So therefore, it's nice to know that we have a scientific way of proving that God exists, and we use creation of God, the beautiful universe that God created for us. Okay. Plus, am I making sense to you? Am I making sense to you? Okay, are the words that I'm sharing to you this afternoon class in a way help you to be convinced, to be more strengthened in your faith that God is existing. He must be existing, because of creation. No? So are the words that I'm telling to you, sharing to you this afternoon, help you in your faith class? Now, if you say yes, now please do click raise hand. May I know? Please click raise hand if the words that I'm saying to you in a way help you to be more convinced that God is really real. God is existing. No? Okay, very good. No? I'm glad with the reactions, your reactions, because it's always my prayer class, and I hope that every time I'm teaching on my students, I'm always hoping and praying that you'll be more strengthened in terms of your faith in God. No? For you to come up with solid reason for you to believe really that God is real and God is existing. No? Okay. Anyone who would want to share a comment or a reaction or share your thoughts katong nag raise hand ganina? You might be having your thoughts, your opinion that you want to share.